Hey, and we are live, opening up with 7 million people in the house. This is your host Dan at Dan and Minnie's Journey. Hey, I want to show you something. Right before go live, this is what happens. Right? Let me see if I can get this microphone. My my microphone stand busts. All I was doing was adjusting and moving it around, and it broke. I have it in pieces over here. Look at that. So anyway, I don't have a boom mic; it's a desk mic. So I've got it sitting in a propped up in a tape spool. It's a little paint spool that I have it kind of like at an angle pointing towards me. Oh well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? The show must go on. So I just want to let you know what was going on in case I have to pick up this microphone. See it almost. I'm muted. Thanks, Anime, for letting us know. Thanks, Anime, for texting over there and letting her know that I'm muted. Am I okay now? Let me go over into the chat and see. Somebody give me a sign. No, not a sign from God. Somebody give me a sign that you can hear me okay. Anime, say okay. There you go. Okay, let me wait until I get a one more thumbs up that you can hear me. Honestly, I can't tell if this microphone is on or off or what. Cause let me bring up the cell phone for a second. Thumbs up from Moelma and everybody, so it looks good. I'm going to run over here because I know we're lagging. Can't hear you now. Okay. So let's see. We're going to draw today. Everybody knows that for 300. And I meant to say that we've got to. Good morning, ABC M channel. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see you here today. I was going to say that. Oh, I see. Here are all the warnings. Dan, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So I was saying, this thing fell over, and then I grabbed it with my hand and turned the mic off. So I'm going to set it up on my boom mic later on today, and hopefully that will square everything away. Marianne Solonga's in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else is here? Larice. Larice is here. Byrong De Barbero's here in the house. We got Rider Adventure. Larry Lee. Jalen. We got Jean-Zel. Jean God. Sir Luke is here. May the force be with you, Sir Luke. Jerry, South Texas, is here. And most likely in the Philippines, right, Jerry? If I'm not mistaken, where are you right now? You in Manila? Where are you at? Thank you, thank you. Pacquiao Mertz is here. Shane is in the house. Prissy. Manzanero. Tim Desiak is here. Thank you, everybody, for giving me your time. Time is one of the most important assets. Time's valuable. I understand that. It's not lost in me at all. All right, let me back up myself here by bringing you up here on the cell phone. If you'll pardon me, I'm not ignoring you. I hate that. I hate when I'm being ignored. I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to go over here and bring you up on the cell phone in case something bad happens. Bad things do happen, you know. Let's see. You and me live. And now we got the chat up on the phone. All right. Very good. Very good. So, yeah, what's the horse's ass thing about? Oh, yeah. So lately, you know, this is what I want to talk about. Lately, I've been getting a few people hanging around me, right? Not necessarily in YouTube, right? But it has happened a couple of times on YouTube, you know. For example, you know, I might have a stalker, and at first it didn't bother me. James Robinson is here. You know why it didn't bother me? Because, you know, if you have a stalker, if you have a troll following you around, you know, that's kind of like that's not such a bad thing, you know. And I could tolerate a lot of nonsense coming from people, but this particular troll is a little bit obnoxious and obviously a very unhappy person. I just would like to say to that troll, go to a meeting, you know, and go to a meeting or two, square yourself away. It probably will be, it'll turn out okay. Just go to a meeting. They got meetings here. Yeah, it must be a terrible thing, you know, to be addicted to alcohol or any other drugs, you know. I'm so lucky, you know. I'm so lucky that I don't have that particular disability or disorder, right? I have the other one, narcissistic personality disorder. I don't have the other one, right? I don't have the other. I'm not easily addicted to things, you know, like any kind of drugs or the grape. I'm not necessarily fond of the grape. No one has ever accused me of being too fond of the grape. So Mike married is here. Mike. So I was lurking around last night and I ran into a comment that Mike made. I'd like to talk about it for a second. Mike, I hope you don't mind. Daisy Lynn is here. It always puts a smile on my face when Daisy Lynn shows up in the chat. But I want to talk about this. I hope you don't mind that that I'm a lurker. I was lurking around. I think I think I was going through the channels last night, and I ran into Mike making a comment. Um, I think it was LV. Mike, were you in LV's channel last night? Did you stop by LV's to make a comment? And then I think I owe you guys. I think I owe Mike an apology because I didn't realize how serious this thing was that's going on in Lapu Lapu, this fire that occurred, right? So this thing was pretty devastating. And so what bothered me most uh, is that the reporting was pretty poor on this fire. In other words, I'm going to admit to you that I did see somebody posting videos on Facebook, and I took a look. I took a look at it, right? I took a look at those Facebook posts, and then I went into the coverage that CNN Philippines was doing, and it wasn't very comprehensive. And so I wonder why that is, that it wasn't a bigger news story. When I went onto YouTube and I started taking a look around, I saw uh, a few, maybe 4 or 5 YouTube channels that were reporting on it, and a few news channels that were reporting on it. But it wasn't the type of comprehensive reporting story that you would expect for a calamity or a disaster of that size. So it was pretty interesting to me. I'm going to read you the story right now. I downloaded it, but it was the same story. It was almost like it was a script. Everybody had the same story no matter what news channel I went to. This is coming from CNN Philippines. Around 600 houses were totally destroyed in a huge fire that hit a congested neighborhood in Barangay Pusok in Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu, on Tuesday afternoon. Lapu-Lapu City Mayor Jungar Chan estimated around 20,000 individuals were affected and rendered homeless because of the blaze that began past 1 p.m. Let's see. So I mean, these types of tragedies, I believe that I was in the Philippines I was in Cebu about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. It could have been when they had a fire on the other side of the bridge, and I think I showed it on what we were seeing on one of our videos, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a pretty devastating fire. Let me continue on here. There were thank God there were no reports of injuries, but most of the residents were not able to save their belongings. The mayor said it could be the biggest fire ever recorded in Lapu-Lapu City. Most of the houses in the neighborhood were made of light materials. Wow. So, if they're made of light materials, they're going to go up pardon the pun, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they're going to burn quickly. They're going to burn very, very quickly. So, I sometimes think it's been set to get rid of the squatters. Okay, it could be. You mean purposely? Of course, if it was on purpose, and that person if it's true that turns out to be the case, then they need to go to jail for a very, very long time, Mike. Some of the houses were on stilts near the shores of the Mactan Channel. So yeah, I know where this is now. This is near Seaside, I think. Right? Am I mistaken, or is it near Barangay Seaside? So Chan assured the residents that the city government will immediately provide assistance. The mayor added that City Hall will cancel its Christmas parties and use the budget to help the fire victims instead. The cause of the fire is still being investigated by the local fire department. This was presented by Cebu-based correspondent Dale Israel. Was a contributor to the story. So these things happen from time to time in the squatter area. If I'm not mistaken, man, Minnie and I, we were in Cebu 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, something like that, when a fire like this broke out. And it was almost a very, very similar situation where there were soft material houses. And the thing, it was devastating. It spread so fast, even though people mobilize really, really quickly. They mobilize, they come together, and Filipinos are, there's something special about the culture where they just drop whatever they're doing and they start assisting people with helping them to remove their belongings and get to safety. And so I'm not sure, Mike, I'm not sure if what I was looking at was the mayor, but there was a person. It was pretty evident that they were crying from a rooftop of either a hotel or a building of some kind, looking down on the fire as it was occurring. I don't know if they were directing firefighters or what the role was, but it could have very well have been the mayor that was up there on the rooftop. And so, I mean, you have it turns out. So anyway, one of the news stories said, so the mayor was saying that it could be up to 20,000 people that have been displaced. And other news reporting agencies are saying that it is somewhere in the 4,000, 4 to 6,000 range. I'm not sure. I mean, you never know. I mean, how do you get an accurate count of the people that have been displaced in a situation like that? When you're talking about folks building soft material houses in those areas. So anyway, there's no way. I think the mayor articulated it correctly. Made that statement that that it could be up to 20,000 people that have been affected. So anyway, I didn't realize how big of a deal that was. It got by me, and I apologize for that because that certainly is big news. But there was another one going on at the same time. I'm not sure, Mike, if you heard about this, but Habarenga canceled their Christmas party too. They're probably going to divert all those funds that were in reserve for the Christmas celebrations, and they're going to go ahead and use that money for assisting the people that have been displaced. That would be that's the human thing to do, right, Mike? But something else was going on right around the same time or a little bit shortly thereafter. So while everybody is occupied with that, something else occurs, and I'm not sure if you guys know about this one, but the municipal trial court building and the welfare office there in Manglania, Cebu, was allegedly set on fire Tuesday noon by one of its employees for reasons still being investigated by authorities. So in this case, in a statement, the mayor of that community, Rajiv Anand, confirmed that the blaze will hit the court building and it was an arson. It was a case of arson. Excuse me. I apologize. Anand said the incident was no accident and that a 60-year-old male employee started it. I think this resulted in somebody losing their life. 11 people were hurt and brought to the hospital, including the suspect who did not survive. Oh, the suspect was the only fatality. Well, there's a little poetic justice in that, is there not? The estimated cost of damage is still being determined, but the fire affected multiple government buildings that house the courthouse. And another article I read, it was also the social welfare office. So there, I mean, geez, the world is It's a strange place right now, I got to tell you. And so those articles really they overshadowed the other stuff I wanted to talk about today, which was had to do with the treatment of Filipino nurses in the United States, where there are lawsuits going on, especially towards a certain company, and I think they're California based. I'm not mistaken. And I didn't realize this was going on, but it makes sense to me. So there's a scheme going on, right, where healthcare professionals, medical assistants, and nurses and things like that, they will accept job offers for employment. But as part of the employment contract, the hiring organizations, because I think that's what this was a contractor, not a hospital facility. I don't think they do direct hires this way. They usually contract with someone that knows, they know all the bureaucratic stuff that has to be done in order to get healthcare professionals over here in the United States, get their visas approved, and then get them trained for the specific job that they're going to be doing. They're responsible for doing that, an agency. And and I kind of knew that stuff like this had been going on in other industries. I just didn't know that they were taking advantage of Filipinos, especially Filipinos that have come to the United States to work in nursing homes, where it's very, very difficult to get people to work. American nurses don't want to work in nursing homes. They'll go they'll go there to do their couple years of internship or externship, get the experience they need in order to qualify for the higher paying jobs in the hospitals. So, but here's something that's been going on that has plagued other industries. But like I said, I had no idea this was going on within the healthcare industry. But what they would do is these companies would go out. There's more than one involved, I'm sure. And in the contract, it says that they are responsible for paying the training offered in order to prepare themselves for their placement. So they pad that training fund is what they do, and then they deduct it from the pay of the healthcare professional. And in doing so, I believe they violate labor relations law in the state of California, other places also. They probably violate federal law because you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it that way. You can't deduct from a employee's wages the cost of training. They're two separate things. The wages have to meet federal guidelines, and if you're in a particular state, they also have to comply with state law, right? Anime, thank you so much for saving me. I would have gone for hours without realizing, because I hadn't brought up the chat yet, so I couldn't see. Dan, something happened. We can't hear you. So anyway, you have to comply with both the state law and the federal law. X-jerks, this can be complicated, but you cannot deduct it from the hourly wage. So you can sign a contract and say, you can say that you can pay this in monthly payments, or something like that. But I mean, once you sign a contract where you're agreeing, here you are, here they're trying to recruit you, and then they want to charge you for this specific training based on your placement. They're basically going to train you how to work in that nursing home environment. And it makes sense they would do that. But if I were running a company where my main objective was to supply, as a contractor, supply labor to others, I'm not going to charge people for that specific training. I'm going to charge the hospital for the training. In other words, you're not going to be responsible for it. And so what was going on with this particular one or two companies was that they were going in there and they were taking the money out of their paycheck, which basically put them at below minimum wage. right? And so in some of the cases, some of the nurses or medical assistants were only making uh, $2 or $3 per hour. Now, in a lot of these cases, they'll provide transitional housing for them and all kinds of other things. All these come with a cost. All these come with cost attached. Let's see, with the glass rail is the mayor. Oh, okay. I see. So you're allowed to collect up for that, for those expenses. They're basic living expenses that anybody would be responsible for paying for. But you're when you combine these things into a deduction, an hourly wage deduction from a person's paycheck, you're basically violating federal law. You can't do it that way. You have to, those things have to be handled separately, and they have to be reasonable expenses. You can't pad it. You can't overcharge because you can't, I mean, you can make a profit, right? But you can't overcharge. Oh, okay, good. Let us know, Mike. I was going to check into that. The Philippine Red Cross is where I was going to check. So, the whole thing is you can contribute, and then I've been told oftentimes it gets allocated, the money gets allocated to where they want it to go. And then I get nervous when I start thinking about sending money directly to the barangay um, captain. I mean, I realize that most of the time I don't think about, where the money is going to go once it leaves my hand. In this case, I would be particularly cautious because you want it to end up in the correct place. So we're going to have to do some exploration to see where the money should be sent. Maybe there's another nonprofit private organization that's handling that. So in any event, you would have a separate invoice for charges for transitional housing, or for room and board, I should say. And then you would need a separate one for here's the cost of your training. But I mean, what they're finding out is the cost of training and things like that, and the cost of room and board, they were padding it so they can take all the money, as much of the hourly wage as they could, away from the person they were trying to recruit and place. And that isn't right. That's morally incorrect. Not only is it illegal to do in the United States, but it's morally incorrect. I hope that all you people that took advantage of those Filipino healthcare workers, especially during this time when we need them, well, how should I say this? Well, I hope you burn in hell for doing that. Yes, yes, I know. You were only following the directions of your superiors. Yes. Well, you follow this direction right here, and you just go straight to hell. So they're suing. In one particular case, they're suing for $5 million. In another case, and by the way, the Department of Employment, either at the state level or the federal level, are representing them. So I mean, we're talking about hundreds that are involved in this class action lawsuit. And I'll tell you what, be aware if this happens to you. This is the reason why I'm bringing it up. Be aware if you ever see anything like this happening, where you're trying to seek employment in the United States. They're trying to recruit you for a field that's very, very much in demand. And I'll tell you what, most fields are in demand right now. And so, time to upload underwater video from Corone. Oh, great. Oh, that's fantastic. We'll be looking forward to seeing that, Jerry. So don't be taken advantage of in that way. I do have a friend, by the way, who is working for a legitimate recruiter. I mean, totally legitimate. The placement was a very nice placement, and yes, they did start him out working in the convalescent hospital, but all is well in that case. Most people don't take advantage. We have a couple of companies that they want to pad it for all it's worth, in order to enrich their own pockets. And the way they went about it, there are ways to make legitimate profit, but that isn't one of them. not on the backs of hardworking people. I just don't believe in it. So be aware. This is the only reason why I'm bringing it up. Be aware that these situations exist out there, and don't try not to get caught up in anything like that. So yeah. Anyway, getting back to the topic of horse's ass. If it looks and smells like an ass, it most likely is ass. And there are a lot of asses hanging around lately, I noticed. So you want to do what you can in order to, you don't need, you don't need the toxicity. Is that the word they're using now? You don't want to have to deal with toxic people because it spreads like a virus. When you get toxic people in your lives, it spreads like a virus. I've always been very aware of it, and I've been very quick to get away from such people, as quickly as my little feetsies can carry me. I run away and make sure that I send a clear message that I don't want you and don't need you in my life. I can't see any benefit in having an ass anywhere around you. Folks, here's a good practice. I have advice for you. You don't have to accept it, but asses, donkeys in particular, do not make great pets. I don't know if I have a feeling that here in the Philippines, you know that very well. But keeping a donkey as a pet does not make for. In other words, if you have an urge to go out and get a pet, why don't you try like everybody else? Why don't you go pick up one of these stray dogs? Make a pet out of that. But don't just go walking down the street and let any donkey into your life. I have learned not to tolerate any donkey coming into my life. And so I suggest that you do the same. Right? Here's another thing. It's kind of loosely related to that. But it goes back to my advice on lending and borrowing, right? Borrowing money makes sense in certain situations. For example, I certainly wouldn't tell you not to do it. It depends. But you wouldn't go out and borrow the money you wouldn't go to your neighbor and uh, borrow money from them without a plan to repay it. That's number one. You wouldn't go to them as a regular routine, like say every month on the 15th, you go to that same neighbor and you ask to borrow the same amount of money for payment on the first. That would be a sign that you have problems creating and sticking to your household budget. So now what I mean, so that would not be a smart debt or healthy way to handle your life. It puts you in a very, very precarious position, especially if you're unable to pay the money back. Because as you're walking down the street, you're going to be thinking to yourself, "Oh, I gotta pass by my brother's house, or I gotta pass by my sister-in-law's house, and I owe them money. I think I'll go the back way." So you don't want to do that either. You don't want to have to think about having to not cross paths with somebody that you previously had a really, really strong relationship, because that you owe them money, right? And you're unable to pay them this month. However, when it comes to business, it's a little bit different. In the United States, people buy, there's, I still think it's a silly thing to do, right? But I had a mortgage, however silly that it was, but I put huge down payment. So mortgage in the United States would be a reason why I would agree that you need to borrow money, right? Yeah, but in my particular case, I would hear these comments all the time, right? Dan, man, I like to see you move out of this neighborhood. Well, one day I hope to move out of this neighborhood It's a little bit scary over here. It just so happens that that was the neighborhood in which I could afford to buy a house, for which to service that mortgage debt. That was the neighborhood. And so I wasn't going to go out there and do something stupid, right? Like buy a house that I knew that if I hit a bump in the road, I wasn't going to be able to make the payment every month. Right? I have a tiny bit of integrity, you know. It's the same as farm workers coming to Canada paying for the flight to Canada with interest, making them live in open areas like a garage. They are charged for room and board. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, because I mean it's pure evil if you're doing that to someone. I'll tell you why. Right? I'll tell you why it's pure evil. Because you have conspired. You came up with the plan in advance already to rip them off. Here you are, and you know that they may or may not know the system of things, what agencies to go and complain to in the event that you're not treated correctly. You see, that's the whole thing. And so, but Filipinos, let me tell you something, Mike. You know this. They're smart. They're smart. They either have a formal education, and the healthcare workers certainly do. They have to go through training programs. But the thing that I notice is they are street smart. And so unless you grew up on the street in a street smart neighborhood like I did, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. And so the whole thing is they're very street smart. They're not only formally educated, but they're street smart. And so you start screwing around with a Filipino in the United States, they're going to go straight to the government agency that handles such matters. They know how things work. They've already been told. They have a very good overseas worker training program here, even though it's only 4 or 8 hours, whatever it is. They give them enough information, that little booklet, they know who to contact. I can give you examples of people that I've helped, Filipinos, because I've known the agencies that need to be contacted in order to square their problem away. I've helped a lot of Filipinos in the United States, overcome these. They weren't similar situations, but they got stuck in a weird place, and they needed some help, right? They needed some help to figure out how to get out of the situation. They need to know where they could go in order to resolve their issue. I could share one with you since I'm not naming names. I could give you one example. In the Philippines, employers are known for charging employees for training and other administrative costs. Oh, that makes sense. So there's some kind of cultural thing. I do believe we hit the 30, right? Somebody say yes. Did we hit the 30 number? I believe so. Yeah, I see. So they think that they're culturally accepting of this situation, and so they don't think anything of it. So they sign the contract because that's the type of contract they probably would see here in the Philippines. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not expecting you to pat me on the back for this, but I had that isn't the reason why I'm telling you. I'm just giving you an example of how I have helped someone in the past overcome what seemed like a very, very complicated situation for them, but it was quite easy to resolve for me because I've seen this a few times. I've seen it with even Americans going through this. Okay, so I had a young lady, Filipino young lady, who had been in the United States working as an engineer, and she had her status change while she was working as an engineer. And so one of the problems that we had is we had to get her status, an acceptable status for her, immigration status. And so, and the reason why, because she had turned age 65, and she goes down to Social Security and Medicare and all that to apply for benefits, which she'd been paying in the whole time she had been in the United States. And they say, Oh, we have a little problem, you know. Oh, what's the problem? Well, you have the money sitting here and you certainly can't collect it, but one of the requirements is you have to have status, and and let's see, what was the other thing? She had, yeah, she was missing one qualifying quarter. You know, she was missing one quarter for the 40 qualifying quarters. That's what it was. So she had two issues. One was immigration status that you need in order to collect the money, and then number two was she had 39 instead of 40 qualifying quarters to get her money. And so she had, it's like seeing the money there and not being able to touch it. And no one at the Social Security office is they're not interested in helping her overcome this. Well, they're very little thing. There's not much they can do. She has to go to immigration, and she has to go to figure out first how to get the status, and the second problem is how to get that last quarter. So it was easy enough to help her get the last quarter. I just called a friend of mine who works at one of the local churches, and I said, "Hey," I explained it. I explained that, can you put this person to work as a caretaker or something, you know, at minimum wage for the next 3 months, so that she could earn her last qualifying quarter for Social Security. And it took a little bit of, deal making, like, what are you going to do for me? And I'll do this for you, and blah, blah, blah. We had to go back and forth about how we were going to return the favors to each other. But eventually, hi, Mark, how are you? So eventually we were able to come up with an agreement, and then he hired her, and then he put her to work. She had a Social Security card, by the way. She didn't, for some kind of reason, she had that in her possession. I don't know how that came about. And it didn't say not unable to work on it. She was work eligible. She just needed that qualifying quarter, even though her status had changed. Oh, I know what it is. You see, there are two ways to come into the United States. You could do it legally and you could do it illegally, right? Illegally creates a whole bunch of problems, and legally you have a leg up on the situation, because it just basically means that you didn't pay your fees in order to upgrade your status, and so you're responsible for doing that. But it does not mean that you're in the country illegally, right? And so she just because she didn't have current status, she would have been denied employment had it showed up that she entered illegally, right? But it didn't show up like that, right? It showed, when the employer pulled the report, it says in the United States legally, is the way it came up. So it's a little bit complicated. It's turning into a long story. But anyway, so we were able to work out that final quarter. So she went to work. She went to work while I started trying to figure out how we were going to help her with her immigration status. But it turns out that I remembered a gal in the Filipino community who owed me a favor. She's very, very high ranking, and one of her positions locally is working with these types of immigration issues. So I called her up on the phone. I said, "Hey, guess what? It's been a few years since I talked to you, but I got this issue. I got a very nice, educated person, engineer, but she needs help doing this." I explained the whole thing to her, and she says, "Oh my gosh," she goes, one more. I'm getting killed here, Dan. I'm helping so many people with with immigration issues right now. Taking one more might just be the straw that broke the camel's back." I go, and I explained the whole thing in such detail that she finally found empathy for this person, and so she took her on. And it took a while. It took like about 9 months to square this away, but 9 months or so. I didn't hear much because nobody was really giving me updates. I'd have to chase somebody or another down in order to get updates. But it eventually worked out that they were able to correct her immigration status, and then also once that was corrected, she was able to go down to Social Security and provide them with all the information that they needed. So Tim says many Filipino people borrow money. They just don't know the borrow means that they need to pay it back. So yeah, so that's the reason why in Dan's world he gifts the money and he doesn't loan it. That's how I got to this point, and years ago actually I got to this point where I said, it's a way better thing to just give somebody in need the money as opposed to just loaning it with the anticipation of giving it back. Because once you create this social contract, this verbal agreement, then you both feel obligated. Me as the lender, I feel obligated to collect it because they did promise it to me. And the person that borrowed it is probably thinking, "Oh my God, I owe Dan money. How do I avoid him until I get a few bucks in my pocket?" But so it puts everybody in an uncomfortable position. Basically, I have to go collect it, and then they have to avoid me, so I can't collect it. It's a cat and mouse game, right? So I retired that idea. I said, this doesn't work out very well. What does the Bible say about this? I don't even know because I don't read the Bible. Listen, I do apologize, but I think if you do read the good book, there's probably something about that in there that talks about this situation. In fact, I know there must be, because I think the whole bankruptcy court thing in the States, in the United States, is built around things like debt forgiveness, right? Isn't it built around debt forgiveness, where after so many years, this is it's got to be in either the Old or New Testament, you forgive the debtor for their debt, right? But hey, some people, they just don't want to let go. They chase them halfway around the world trying to collect a few bucks, right, that they're owed. And so I just decided, we're never going to do this, right? We're never ever going to do this. I'm never going to get in that kind of environment where I have to either treat somebody that way or they have to avoid me. Well, a lot of people avoid me, I wish some of the few toxic people, the one or two that are left in my life, would avoid me. That's how I'm segueing into this, right? Oh, it's a light show in 0 degrees. That's fantastic. Yen is here. All right. But anyway, so you try and just, try and curve things. Yeah. So that you can make that karmic connection in your life. And I think that borrowing money or lending it ain't such a great idea. If you want to, and the person's going to be there, how do you help them actually change the tide? One way that you can help them change the tide is help them by showing them how to earn the money, or give it to them as a gift. Figure out a way to gift it to them, or as a lot of the expat YouTubers say, learn the word no. Learn to say the word no. Well, I have a hard time saying no myself. So I just try not to get involved in that. If I have, on occasion, people have come to me, YouTube subscribers, and they said, "Hey, I'm in deep doo and I could sure use a little bit of help." Well, if they've asked for, let's say, 10,000 pesos, and I have 5,000 hanging around, I might help them out with whatever I've got hanging around, but that's kind of the way that I do it. But I wouldn't loan them the money. I just don't believe in doing that. Don't, people come ask me for money, please. Just because I said that. I might just say to you, when do you plan on paying it back? Anyway, all I'm saying is that's not good practice to do it. It just creates all kinds of karmic issues, if you will, and other issues, right? So just save yourself all that, don't do it, don't get involved in that. Business is different, business, you have to have a plan to repay it, right? So coming full circle around this situation, I sent 3 for dad, brother of mine, and dad doesn't lend my brother. Sold for beer, and my Asawa lent mine to the neighbor. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's welcome to the Philippines. It's more fun here. So the whole thing is, um, you're in a different situation here in the Philippines. I understand that. I understand that. You may have a very, very trusting relationship with someone that always meets their commitment. So I'm not the moral authority here. I'm just sharing my own experience and my own advice. And if you have any problem with it, just go back to the introduction and read my disclaimer. I don't lend, just give. So they say, exactly. That's the other problem is, it is an Asian country, and saving face is a big deal here. But forgiveness of debt also to people that owe you money, isn't such a bad thing. And why do I bring this up around Christmas time? Why would I be bringing this up around Christmas time? Well, I know it seems peculiar to me that when I go on Facebook and I start looking at people posting things, they're not being very kind to the people that owe them money. And it's starting to bother me a little bit. I try not to I try not to go into Facebook that often because, I see things like that and it drives me crazy to see it. It upsets me to see it. Why would you, so somebody owes you money, why would you then go on Facebook and announce to the world that so-and-so owes you money and will not pay you back? I just don't get that, right? I don't understand it. How is it announcing it to the world and basically calling the person out that owes you money? How is that going to help? How's that going to help you, and how's it going to help that particular individual? Do you think it's going to compel them to stop whatever they're doing and then come running over to you with a pocket full of money to pay off their debt? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. And it's troubling. It's troubling me. I don't like seeing it on Facebook, especially during this time of the year. Well, it doesn't really matter what your belief is. Actually, it's any time of the year. If I win, draw, give it to the Red Cross for the people affected by it. Most certainly will. And so you see, it isn't a good idea to get yourself into that situation, either as the borrower or the lender. And all I'm doing is just sharing that experience during Christmas time. During Christmas time, I'm not you would think by me showing old buildings and churches and the Mama Mary and everything on my videos that I am a very religious person, but I'm a sinner. I'm a heathen. I'm the worst kind of character. But I'm not, apparently I'm not that immoral. Apparently, there are people like this donkey's ass that keeps following me around. Who lacks moral character, right? So that would make them beneath me, in other words, because I'm not going to follow you around. All right, guaranteed, I've got better things to do than to be paying attention to somebody who has slighted me. But I guess I am, in a general way, doing it now, I suppose. By the way, the ass knows who they are. I doubt that any of you have encountered this ass, but or had any experience with the ass in question. But anyway, let me see if I can get Man Mini over here so we can draw for a winner. Man, Minnie, you're up. Superstar, you're up. Let me shake it up for a little bit. By the way, thanks for hanging in there with me. I know you're here for the money. Once in a while, I might throw out an interesting story. Here's Man Minnie. By the way, we're going to be downtown bye-bye. Because like I said, I got to go load up my Gcash before I can send this out. But I'll make sure I take your cell phone number with me. Or if you win, be kind so Dan doesn't have to look it up. Be kind and send me a message through Messenger and give me what your Gcash number is. Okay. All right. We ready to go, Man Minnie? Are we ready to go? She's getting me tired of me calling her Man Minnie.
Just call me Minerva.
Just call me Minerva.
Yes, Danielle.
Yes, Danielle, call me Minerva.
Honey.
All right. Let's
Hi,
see.
Anami. Nice to talking to you.
All right, we got a good one, I think.
She's good. She's
Wait.
letting me know.
Oh no, I dropped all
You're
the cards.
talking long, but it muted.
Okay, it was muted, yeah. Yeah, skip the first 15 minutes of the chat if you do the replay. Yeah, unless you know how to read lips. Oh my goodness gracious. She's doing her live right now.
Who?
I think she starts her live, right? Or she's preparing for it. This is number 24. Daisy Lynn Castro. You were in the chat earlier. The beautiful, incomparable Daisy Lynn Castro, number 24. First call out. Must be present to win.
I'm engaged.
Hey, Daisy Lynn, if you guys have her, I hate for Daisy Lynn to miss out on this. So if you have her messenger, maybe you might want to send her a message saying, get in here and say present. Okay, here we go. Number 24. Second call out. That's for Daisy Lynn Castro. Must be present to win. Please say present. That's for 300 pesos today. Third call out. Coming down the pike for Daisy Lynn Castro. Number 24. Must be present to win.
Lynn, good morning.
But you know, them rules are the rules. So, you know, I'm not gonna, I got to play fair because you guys are here. Daisy Lynn's probably getting ready for her show in the background. Fourth call out for Daisy Lynn Castro.
Where are you, Daisy Lynn?
Must be present to win. Daisy Lynn, where are you? All right, nothing so far. Fifth and final call out. Please say present. Daisy Lynn Castro. By the way, if you get a chance,
I miss you.
If you get a chance, we're having great fun in Daisy Lynn's live stream. Go in there and sign up. You know, tell her that you're there. Tell her that Dan sent you, and she'll appreciate it. Man, her channel is just like blowing up right now. I mean, it's just doing so well. She's turned into Mrs. Personality. Guys,
good morning, everybody, but I can't read.
By the way, stop falling in love with Daisy Lynn Castro, you guys. She is a married woman.
You're stop. You're the one stop. You're married too. You're flirting.
Touche. Touche. All right. We have another one. All right. Number 4. Number 4 is Aileen Cruz Official. Now, Aileen is in here. She's got to be in here. Aileen Cruz Official, number 4. First call out. Must be present to win. Oh, I see her show up on my phone. We have a winner. It's Aileen Cruz Official. Congratulations for 300 pesos. Man, Minnie and I were on our way to the 7-Eleven to load up. Congratulations, Aileen Cruz Official. If you wouldn't mind sending me your, I think I have your, oh yeah, here it is. I've got your Gcash number in front of me. And so we're going to go load up my Gcash and I'll send that right out to you. Larry Lee,
Hi, Sir Larry. How
if
are
you wouldn't mind getting us out of here, getting us out of this chat, I would truly appreciate it. Larry Lee, where you be? Let's see. There it is. Larry Lee says, their words of wisdom. Remember to be kind to each other. Take care of yourself. Stay safe and healthy. Plus, always try to have fun.
Very
Oh,
good,
by
Sir
the way,
Larry.
one last thing. Thank you, Larry. By the way, one last thing to say on this Christmas celebration thing that we're doing, you know, all I want for Christmas is the cutoff time is 10 p.m. on December 19th. The winner will be announced on the live stream on the 20th, which would be what day is it? The 19th and the 20th. Probably a Wednesday, right? I probably have it set up so it's my last live stream of the week. But make sure you get that in to me, and you do not have to be present to win. Couple of you have asked me about that. Girly sent a few people have asked about whether I have to be present to win, and you do not on this one. Not on this one, but the announcement will be made on the 20th on a live stream. And if it's not a regularly scheduled live stream, it'll be a special live stream. All right, everybody, take care. We're out
guys.
in 5, 4, 3, 2.